and welcome to chapter 3 in Tim Elmore's book, The 8 Paradoxes of Great Leadership. So we're going to go through that. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to try to go a little quicker today and keep my comments a little bit more brief, and then give us possibly some opportunity to talk about this concept of visibility and invisibility. I really believe it's a great topic, but here's the big idea for today, all right? Uncommon leaders embrace both their visibility and their invisibility. So what are we talking about here? Are they here today and gone tomorrow? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, when Tim Elmore talks about visibility, it's the ability to be present, but the ability to kind of like model the way. The model the way phrase comes from a book, The Leadership Challenge, which has been out for 30 or 40 years. But it's the whole concept of, it's not do what I say, it's do what I do and follow me in that way. So that's visibility. Invisibility is the idea that you're willing to say, all right, these people have seen what I've done, and now I'm going to let them and equip them and engage them in the work. So that's the difference between visibility and invisibility. Nobody has the invisibility cloak from Harry Potter here, all right? That's not what we're talking about. So let's break down this big idea. So the big idea, again, is uncommon leaders embrace both visibility and invisibility. So let's break it down. Uncommon. Well, it's not usual or expected. What we're teaching or what we're walking through is not usual or expected. You either see leaders that are really, really controlling or leaders that are very, very absentee. Those are the two extremes of the line. You've got a leader over here that he or she is always there telling you what to do, directing what you do, never giving over that authority to anybody else. And then you have the leaders that are just like, you know what, do what you got to do, and we'll talk about it, and we'll deal with it. So there are two extremes. I believe both are wrong. So it's uncommon to do what we're asking you to do. Embrace. So uncommon leaders embrace. It's a choice. It's a commitment. You're going to embrace the fact that at times, as the leader, you have to open your mouth if you're an introvert. You're going to have to embrace the opportunity at times that you're an extrovert, pointing at myself. You got to close your mouth and let other people do the job. See, it's a choice. It's a commitment. So that's what it's uncommon. It's embracing. Visibility is the idea of modeling the way. I'm going to show you how to go. And then invisibility, it's leadership, not doership. I'm going to equip and engage you and then let you do your task. So the big idea, uncommon leaders embrace, so they commit to both visibility and invisibility. So let's look at visibility real quick. Model the way. Here's a statement from page 72 out of the book. It's simply that human example is so much more powerful than human explanation. It's more powerful to see it than to hear it. I'm a hands-on kind of person, so school, high school, even some of college was really difficult for me because I'm just hearing blah, 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 and I'm like, I don't understand what they want me to do. So but for me, it's more important when my dad would take me out and show me how to do it. He's like, this is how you put a nail into a board. This is how you paint. This is how you do this. This is how you engage and deal with conflict with people. I'm like, oh, I could see that, so I can follow that. I can model that. Another statement from the book, same page. Visible leadership deepens your credibility. So if you're a leader that is present, it deepens your credibility. Last night, I had never set up for a CU Friday in my life, and it was obvious. You can say it was obvious. Thank you, Nishan. It was obvious that I had never done that, but I wanted to be present to show that I was willing to try and figure things out. Visibility deepens your credibility. So when you're there, when you show up, you can show up and take over, or you could sometimes you need to, or you could show up and just be present and let your team see that they have it, asking questions. There were a lot of times last night I said, hey, do this, this, and this. And the Sean's like, you know what? Or Caleb Geiger, we always do it this way. And I'm like, okay, do it that way. Visibility deepens your credibility. So here's some things for visibility in action. You are needed to model the way and to take them on a journey with you. Your job as the leader is to show them how to get the job done. Now, you might be like, I don't have a leadership position. Guess what? My job in leading John Wood, yes, my job is to lead John Wood. His job is to lead me. I submit to his authority because he's my leader. But in leadership, because it's not a position, my job in leading John Wood is making sure that he understands the processes and everything that we're doing. I don't leave John out on a ledge wondering what we're doing in campus experience. As a leader of a leader, so as a leader, the follower of that leader, the way I lead John Wood is with information. And I make sure that he has it. I'm trying to model, hey, John, here's what we're doing, because I don't want anything to surprise him. Number 2, your words and processes gain authority with your actions. You walk the talk. So you might do this. If all you do is talk and you never walk, then it's like, that guy or that girl, all she ever does or all he ever does is just run their mouth. What I want to see in leadership is like, if you're going to be visible, you're going to talk it, but then you're also going to walk it even when people don't see you. If we talk about Bravo Zulu and that whole thing of going above and beyond and looking for the little things to pick up, and I walk by a piece of paper and Brianna sees that, what's the problem with that? I'm demonstrating, I talked this to summer team, but I walked right by it. So the idea of stopping and picking that up. In the Bible, James chapter 4, it says, to him to know the good he ought to do and do it not, to him it is sin. That verse convicts me continually, because if I know something good I'm supposed to do it, I'm just like, it's not a big deal right now. That's actually sin to me. So as a leader, if you know the good thing to do and all you do is talk it and you don't walk it, you are in sin. I'm going to be that bold and go out and say that. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, visibility means that you are present, but not that you are doing everything. So if you're visible and you're trying to do everything, what happens when you get sick? Then nothing can get done. Visibility is there so that you're around, but you're leading, you're equipping, you're engaging, you're listening, you're learning. That is visible leadership. So why visibility? Tim Elmore has this on page 74 and 75 in the book. Leadership operates on the basis of trust. If I'm not present, you can't trust me. If your parents were not present, you would not trust them. If your pastor showed up for one Sunday, maybe Christmas, a year, and he says, trust me, you wouldn't trust him because he's not present. Number 2, leadership naturally stems from moral authority. Intentions without actions are just words. So leadership is moral authority. And you can't have moral authority with somebody if you're not present and visible in their life. A leadership gauge, or a leader's success is gauged of the effectiveness in his followers. Let me read that again. That was really poorly read. Leadership's gauge of effectiveness is the followers. Meaning, as a leader, if I say it and I do it, but you don't do it and you don't say it, then I failed. The effectiveness of the leader is you. The effectiveness of you is me. So for ops, like I was with them last night, if I don't understand what they're doing, then they haven't led me well. I have a better understanding of a CU Friday than I did before last night. Those 3 things: leadership operates on the basis of trust, it naturally stems from moral authority, and your people are your effectiveness meter. All right? Now we switch over here to invisibility. Here's a couple of statements, page 77 and 79 in the book. Teams will eventually require leaders to take a risk and let their teammates do what only the leader once did. There are times as a leader you have to start by doing the task. Beginning of the year, if you're a cab exec, you had to do everything. By this time in the year, you should be letting other people do the job. Same thing with SGA or any other group, class council, info. How do you get it where you start to do the work, but now you relinquish the work, because there's going to come a day when you're not going to be present. This job you will not hold for the rest of your life. I will not hold this job for the rest of my life. Just because that's important for me to understand that I've got to work myself out of a job and equip you to do the job. Statement number 2, invisibility is a process. It's not like you wake up one day and you're visible. I'm gone today. It's a process, because if you do it too fast, you freak people out, right? If all of a sudden I said, hey, by the way, this is what we're going to do, ops. Let me teach you all the things that you're going to do. And then the very next day I'm gone and say, good luck. It's like the way my dad taught me how to swim. He took me out to my uncle's lake, went out on a boat, took me up in his arms. I'm about 7 years old, and threw me in the water. Okay, I'd never swam before a day in my life, been in the water, but it was like, good luck, swim. That was overwhelming. I still remember it, and I'm almost 50. So invisibility is a process. It takes time. Invisibility does not require you to be absent. So when I say to be invisible, Gabe, it doesn't mean that you don't show up to see how Tim is doing with the leave setups or leave bands. It means you're there, but you're trusting Tim to do the job. You're still there. You've got to be visible. And that's the reason why we have technology too. With Basecamp and Teams, you can be present and not be present. You can be present and be checking in on a project like I've done on ops or marketing. You can be there and use your technology and still be a part of that process. When to practice let me start that again. When to practice invisibility. That's a tough word to say in the morning. Page 79 and 80. People have watched you do it numerous times. If you've done it numerous times, and I've been with Nishant numerous times, and I keep doing it, and never let him do it, then I'm not practicing invisibility. I should do that. People know the routine and can articulate it to others. It's the idea of structure. That's why we have a structure. That's why you answer the phones in a certain way. That's why you deal with money in a certain way. That's why you code in a certain way, and on and on and on, because structure protects you, it respects others, and it builds a culture of one that we could actually let other people do the job. People have had the chance to try it themselves. Sometimes you let people try, they fail, you pick them back up, let them try again. That's the only way to learn. It's the way that I learned how to play sports. It's the way that I learned how to swim. It's the way I learned how to play an instrument. It wasn't like one day I picked up the trumpet and decided, you know what, I'm going to be first chair at the end of my senior year in high school, and I'm going to be awesome. No, the first couple of years I played it, I was pretty bad. I don't think I could play it anymore. I haven't picked it up in a long time. People display that they are convinced of the legitimacy of the mission. So you can give stuff over to people when you believe that they're like, wow, they're really bought in. I get this. They're bought in. I can be invisible now. I can do that. So as a leader, maybe without a position, you want more authority, you want more opportunities, prove that you're listening and prove that you're bought into the mission of the organization. It doesn't mean that you have to be in love with the organization, but it means you have to be in step with the organization. And the beauty of that, if you're not in step with the organization, it's okay. There's other organizations. There really is. So find a job that you can embrace in, you can go into, and what happens for you as the leader without the position, demonstrate to your leader that you are trustworthy and that you're able by buying into what they're trying to do. People have built muscle memory for the task, okay? So I think of this more for ops more than anything. If they know how to do pipe and drape, I don't need to be there going, this is how you do in pipe and drape. They know how to do it. They know what to do. They know where it goes because muscle memory is there. So I can be invisible. I don't have to be there going, okay, put that there and that there. They just know how to do it. I don't have to tell Haley how to turn on a camera. Plus, I don't even know how to turn on that camera. I don't have to tell you how to take pictures. I don't need to tell Cab, this is how you do a run sheet. Or for the chaplains, this is how you do planning center. I don't need to show you that because you have the muscle memory because you've done it. So that's what happens in leadership. You start to let people do it. They get that muscle memory. They get that excitement. And then you can be more of that invisible leader. All right? So a couple of things that Tim does at the end of every chapter is he summarizes it. So this is page 83 in your book, and I forgot my glasses, so we will do our best to get this done. So visible and invisible. When you're visible, you inspire people by your example. When you're invisible, you empower people by your delegation. Visible, your example, delegation, invisible. When you're visible, people grow confident in my leadership. So when I'm there, or you're there, people grow confident in you. So when I'm there for John Wood, I'm hoping John grows confident in my leadership. When I'm invisible, people grow confident in their ability. So I left last night before the hiccup, right? I guess that you said, but they handled it. I didn't know there was a hiccup. He probably didn't even have to tell me there was a hiccup. But the whole idea is I show with invisibility that Nishant and Brad and Caleb and Ethan can handle it without me. Or that Dan or Leslie or, I almost said Lauren, or whoever the new person's coming in, or Chrissy or, Teresa and Weston can handle it when I'm not there. But I still need to be visible. When you're visible, you model for others. When you're invisible, you mentor others. See the difference? You got to be there to model, but your job is to mentor, to get them to do it. That's really difficult. When you're visible, my team begins to believe in me. When you're invisible, my team begins to believe in themselves. I remember coaching a couple years ago, my daughter's 6th grade basketball team. At the beginning, I had to do this is how you dribble, this is how you shoot, this is what you're doing. By the end of that, it was really fun to watch them call the plays from the floor and not me. And that's what a coach should do. That's what a leader should do. If a coach, by the time you're a senior, is yelling at you to do every little thing in the game, he's not allowing or she's not allowing you to be you, and you don't understand the game because you're relying on the coach. The goal is to be taught, catch it, and then to do it. And the last one, visibility. It gives people, I give people an example. When I'm visible, I give people an example. When I'm invisible, I give people an experience. So think about that with our common purpose. We provide opportunities for others to have moments. So there are times that you need to be visible, but Cab, a lot of what you do is that invisible stuff, and they're just having fun hanging out. They're having fun hanging out at different places in chapel. You're visible there leading in worship or leading through the word, but the Spirit is the one that's doing the work, right? That's who's convicting. So at the end of the chapter, Tim always gives 8 examples, and I'm going to read them, and then we're going to be done. It's chapter 84. The habits and attitude of a visible yet invisible leader. So number 1, examine your core values, then assign 3 action steps. So what do you believe? Assign action steps. So if we say that one of the things that we're going to do is provide opportunities, come up with 3 action steps on how you're going to do that today or tomorrow. Number 2, note that where your team members are falling short, then identify actions that you can take to demonstrate how the staff can rise to the challenge and embody the culture. So basically, if there's things that you're doing wrong, instead of just going, you're doing this wrong, identify ways to change that. Number 3, reflect and note on the areas in which it is most vital to be visible in your leadership. Where do you need to be present? Where do you need to be present? Think about that with friendships. There are times that you need to be there for a friend. You'll have those 2 a.m. friends when the phone rings at 2 a.m. I've got a few of those. And when that phone rings at 2 a.m. and I see it's John Wambold, you better believe, or Daniel DeWitt, you better believe that I'm going to answer that phone. And I know that they're going to answer that phone for me. It's like you got to know where and who to be visible for. You can't be visible for everybody. You cannot be the leader of everybody. It will kill you. Number 4, don't confuse words and actions. Whenever you communicate a key message, find ways to make it a show and tell. Number 5, identify team members who need to step it up to a higher level in their leadership and discuss it with them. Don't go to them and smack them over the head with the book, but go to them and say, hey, what can we do to improve this? Number 6, find one way you can move from visible to invisible. Number 7, meet with an accountability partner to discuss what prevents you from moving to invisible leadership. Sometimes it's just because you don't want to feel lazy. There's times I wanted to always be present because I didn't want you guys to think I was lazy. But in that's ego. So at times the best thing for me to do to be invisible is to realize it doesn't matter what you think. It matters what I do and who I'm trying to serve. Number 8, take the big idea we discussed, which is in the chapter. It's the idea that you instruct, you delegate, you empower, and then you have accountability, and list steps that you can do to embody each word. So with the idea of visibility and invisibility, it's not talking about power hungry and lazy. It's not talking about present and absence. It is talking about some person that's going to model the way and take you on the journey with him or her. That's the goal of visible and invisible. There are times that you have to be visible. Getting started, I had to be visible. Where we are right now, I'm not as visible with some groups because I don't need to be. They're doing the job well. And when I am visible, it's just because they're groups that I get the opportunity to lead. So the idea is like you have to balance that. Even with your friendships, you don't have to be the center of attention at every get-together. There are times somebody else can be. Be visible and invisible. At church, be visible and invisible. When you're invisible doesn't mean that you're not present at church. It means you're allowing other people to step up. You know, there's an old adage that's 20% of the work, or 20% of the people do 80% of the work. That's an old church thing that's been around for years. You know why? I think a lot of times is people are so busy, but a lot of times that 20% is like, I got to keep doing, and they don't take a step back sometimes and let other people volunteer or take them with them and equip them. As a pastor's kid, I wish more people would have done that. I was really thankful for that 20%, but man, there was this 80% that was doing nothing. Is it because they were really lazy? I don't think so. It's because they just didn't feel it was their place to do that. Visible and invisible leadership. They work together, and they will balance you, and that's what this paradox is all about.